Welcome into NHL Tonight. First shift for a Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025. EJ Radick here alongside Dave Reed. We are out of our usual digs today, so a little bit of a different look here, but good to be. We were just here like 12 hours ago doing NHL Tonight last night with a crazy bunch of games. It's a lot of fun. We just changed chairs.
A lot of fun. Yeah, last night was a lot of fun. Especially if you're a Columbus Blue Jacket fan.
A lot of goals.
It was a lot of goals. Another overtime comeback by Montreal again.
And St. Louis.
Again, winning.
What teams are?
It's exciting. It's a great time of the year.
Nice to be hot this time of year.
Yeah, it sure
and,
is.
you know, we had a couple of chicken wings after the show.
Did.
Took care of yours. I took care of mine.
They didn't last long. They didn't last long.
No, they did not. No, they did not. So we are good, and we have another new producer on our show today because, you know, we get JD is not there. Look at that. Look at that guy, Steve Tronzano. This poor man has had to work with me for like 15 years, Reader. I feel so bad for him. I mean, it's a nightmare.
We all go way back.
You should feel bad.
We all
for
go
me.
way. We've done drafts together. Like a long time ago.
That's right.
A long time ago. Back in about 15 years ago, we're doing drafts.
That's right.
This is an
Philly,
OG crew
Florida.
right now.
Yeah. And like poor Trons drew the short straw today. JD is out today, and, you know, Tron stepped in. So thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I like that you're here. I got to say it.
You're not sure why, though.
I don't have any idea why. No idea in the world
Sometimes
why.
I don't know either, EJ. And to be honest with you, JD does a great job. I'm so impressed with him. He gave me no direction on how to handle the show, how to handle you guys. But I appreciate the warm welcome. I was this morning not feeling great. I thought I might have had the flu, to be honest with you.
Oh no.
Yeah, it would have been tough.
That would have been bad.
Anyway, we got to get through this.
Hey, listen, I got to say one quick thing before you get off here. This guy's done a great job at this NHL Network for many, many, many years and holding it together through a lot of kind of bumpy waters. So thank you.
Well, thank you, EJ. Appreciate it. Don't ever do it again.
I won't do that again.
First things first, though.
All right,
Ovechkin,
let's go.
Ovechkin, 4 away.
All right, there it is. So, Alex Ovechkin. Rita, we were here last night. We saw it live.
Early. Yeah.
Right on NHL Network last night as we had a break-in, and Ovi only needs 4 to pass Gretzky. That was a pretty easy one. Great pass from Strome.
That was a great pass by Strome. Just the awareness of Strome to slide it over. And Ovi's always in the right spot. We're hoping he almost had the empty netter late in the game as the countdown continues. The crowd in Boston in that game, it was raucous when he scored.
They were pumped.
No, they understand their team is really struggling. That was, 10 in a row they've lost or 9 in a row? Too many to count. But that crowd gave Ovi a great ovation. When he scored that goal early in the game, which was very impressive. Again, the Boston Bruins fans, they're smart, knowledgeable fans. But you don't always see the home crowd when you're the visitor early in the game give you such an ovation. And when he shot at the end of the game, it was the same thing. You could feel that, everybody was like, go in. They wanted to see it. Everybody in hockey wants to see Alexander Ovechkin break this record, and they want to see it happen this year.
I think people like seeing history. It's
Absolutely.
like when you go to a baseball game and a guy's pitching a no-hitter against your team. You're not always thrilled that a guy's pitching a no-hitter against your team, but it's so rare that you get to see something like that. And I think the hockey fans across, North America, they know how important this is. And here's another mark that Ovi passed last night. Most goals after turning 30 in NHL history. He passes Gordie Howe. You can see Phil Esposito, Johnny Busick on that list as well. So Ovi just continues to get it done. It's amazing.
416 goals after 30. Okay, you're at your best before 30. You're at your best between,
most of the time.
22 to 26 or 22 to 28. You're at your best in there. That's absolutely remarkable. Majority of players don't come close to that. Majority of forwards, it's a little much more difficult as defensemen. But majority of goal scorers, like to hit 400 goals is a huge platform in the National Hockey League, scoring-wise. He had over 400, over 30.
Yeah.
He was in the league for 12 years.
And I got one more for you because he scored in the first period of this game, right? So, they keep track of everything, right? So now, with scoring in the first period, he, I believe, surpassed Wayne Gretzky for first period goals He has 241. Oh, we tied him? Okay, we're getting the word he ties.
Yeah.
Gretzky's going to pass him next time he scores in the first period, but they're all close. It's like Esposito, Brett Hull, they're all kind of right in there, Gordie Howe. So first period goals as well, striking early in a game.
They have a stat, and it's first goals of a game. And, I always thought when I played, it's like, kind of why do you
There's the list.
out
So
there?
tied with
It's
Brett.
important to get your team the lead in the game. It's even more important in today's game. When I played, if you got a lead in the first period, if you were ahead in the first period, you probably won the game. You could shut it down defensively. So it was even more important, back through the 80s and 90s. In today's game, there are more comebacks, but it's still extremely important to get your team on the board early, get your team going, and that's what these guys do. And Ovi is ready to go. I play with Brett Hull, and it was, and if they get a goal early, these guys get a goal early in the game, wow, look out.
They may get 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's a good stat. It's an interesting stat, but it just says these guys come ready to play every game when you're scoring in the first period.
No question about it. So the Washington Capitals get a win, and they welcomed another piece of the puzzle. Ryan Leonard was someone that we talked about. He was at BC. He played his second year at BC, had an unbelievable year there. Boston College Eagles end up losing to the Pioneers of Denver in the regionals, so they're out. He signs a contract. There he is in his
team's there.
The whole BC team showed up. They were on the glass banging. There they are.
That's awesome.
There they are, banging the glass for him, and really exciting for Ryan Leonard to get to play in Boston, right in his backyard, a Massachusetts kid. He ended up starting the game, and, they ended up winning. He made a nice play. You pointed out he did not get a point on it, but he got like the third assist, I guess, on one of the goals for the Washington Capitals. It might have been the game winner. Maybe not, because they went up by 2 and then Boston scored later.
Yeah, it was.
But he made a nice play. There's he is, getting physical there during the game.
I was impressed. His speed and his shot are what Ryan Leonard's known for. And when you're in the National Hockey League, you've got to use your speed. Especially being a young kid, you've got to use your speed and bring that energy. I thought he brought a lot of energy to the game, and I thought he fit right in. Watching him play, he was put in good situations as well. You don't put a young player out there in all defensive zone faceoffs or. I thought Ryan Leonard fit in beautifully, and the rich get richer. The Washington Capitals having a great year. Ryan Leonard, we're going to see how this plays out as you move along, but he can be that depth scoring that this team could use on the third and fourth line. Not that they don't score enough, but when you've got a guy like Ryan Leonard who doesn't need a lot to score a goal, can get that quick shot and can skate. I would say kind of reminds me of a Chris Kreider when he came in with the Rangers, a similar type of powerful skater, can get in physically, can get in on the forecheck, and can score goals, and is very responsible when he doesn't have the puck. I thought he played very well.
Very well. 14 minutes and 14 seconds in his first game, so we'll see how he goes as things move on here. But a nice piece to add for an already good Washington Capitals team. It's funny. We're here last night, and we're watching the games unfold, and I think we were in one highlight, and you're taking a peek at one of the other screens, and you see this fight going on between McElrath and Vial, a player for the Boston Bruins, and we ended up showing it later. It was like a street fight that went on for like about a minute, it seemed like. These guys just kept punching each other in the face.
This reminds me, we're watching, and we've got our monitors over here, so you're watching the game, we're discussing the game, you look up over here, and it's like, that fight's still going on.
It's still going on.
And it reminded me, I don't remember if you remember, you probably do, if you haven't seen it, Bob Probert and Craig Cox.
Back
Craig
in the
Cox
day,
was in Vancouver.
Big guy.
And this would have been in the late 80s, early 90s. And both guys are just standing there, they're throwing punches, neither one's backing down. You can see the linesman, no, hold off. I mean, they will tire. Eventually, you tire out.
I thought they tired off about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was the same. It just
this is like a street fight, really.
It was.
Here.
It got. The punches came heavier, I think, as this fight went on. But and we're not the pumping, fighting and all this in the game.
But this is unusual. This is an unusually long fight for
Yes.
these guys. I mean, they've got to be.
Yeah.
Rito, I know you probably weren't in a lot of fights, if any, during your career, but it's exhausting, isn't it?
Yes.
Talking to the guys who did it.
Yeah.
Your heart is pumping through your chest.
The fortunate thing on this fight, it happened very early in the shift. The puck dropped, and it wasn't long into the shift. If you're 30 seconds into a shift and you get going like that,
wow.
a lot of guys won't fight in a situation if they've been out 30, 40 seconds and the other player jumps on the ice and okay, you're being on 10 seconds. You're not going to, because it is draining. The adrenaline that's going, and you try standing with a heavy bag for 45 seconds and putting one arm up and just switching ends and just throwing on a heavy bag. That's exhausting. Now put skates on. Now have another guy kind of shaking you around.
Another guy trying to punch you.
That was very impressive. I mean, both guys, there was no injuries in the play.
Yeah.
And
thankfully.
But you don't see those fights that often.
No.
And it's going to happen. But that usually it's boom, boom, fight's over. Yeah. Linesman get in. But linesman stood back and said, both guys are big guys. The linesmen don't want to get hit.
No.
That went on. That went on for. Did we have the clock on that?
I don't know. It went on for a while. It went on for a while. Yeah, it went on for a while.
Dylan McGrath.
Over 50 seconds.
A big, physical, tough player. And good for him.
All right, so let's get to the schedule for tonight's games. And we got 5 games on the docket tonight. And guess what? Just talked a lot about the Washington Capitals. They are in action tonight again against the Carolina Hurricanes. Metropolitan Division matchup. And another chance for Alex Ovechkin to inch a little closer. And you look at places on the road where Ovi has had success. Look what's number 1 on that list right there. Carolina. Lenovo Center there, 31 goals in Carolina. And he was drafted in that building way back when, in 2004. So, hey, maybe tonight he chips away and gets even closer.
All right, let's look at the big question. Yeah. Is Wayne Gretzky going to be in the house?
Yeah.
Gary Bettman going to be in the house? Is it now time?
We're getting closer.
Is it now time? Because he could do it in one game.
Yeah,
he could tie it. Period.
He could tie it with a hat trick.
Yeah, I mean, he could get 4.
That's true.
Like, it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be tough against Carolina. Carolina doesn't usually give up 3 or 4 goals in a game.
Yeah.
But when does that start? And is that going to affect the psyche of the team? As you're being Wayne Gretzky, I mean, he's following you around. That's it's quite interesting. I mean, it's a moment that everybody's going to remember. Everybody's going to be tuned in to watch. And if you're not, you better make sure you know when they're playing.
Yeah.
But it could happen tonight in Carolina.
Yeah, you can see there, Ovi has just been consistent this year. He missed that time from November 19th to December the 27th. But, I mean, look at that. He was leading the league when he was out.
Yeah.
And then since then, he's had 23 behind, Draisaitl, Robertson, and Pastrnak. I mean, he's right there tied with Wyatt Johnston. So, crazy.
He's almost 40.
Amazing. And so Carolina tonight in Carolina, they come home and play the Chicago Blackhawks on Friday. Then they travel to play the Islanders on Sunday. So that's the next couple of games for the Caps and Ovechkin. So we'll be watching the great chase. In the Atlantic Division tonight, we got a monster game. Take a look at the Atlantic standings. The Leafs are on top. They have a 1-point lead over the Lightning. And then they've got a 2-point lead over the Panthers, who lost a point last night late. And then in overtime against Montreal. So the Leafs and the Panthers tonight. Tampa will sit back and watch these two teams play. The Lightning will play in Ottawa tomorrow night. But great opportunity, I think, for the Leafs. The Panthers play in second of a back-to-back. This is the 4th game in 3 days. Another tough spot to be in. The Leafs coming back from California. They played in Anaheim on Sunday. So first game after a trip, not always ideal either. But right. They've had a little time to rest and get ready. I think this is a spot for a Leafs team that has lost twice now this year to Florida already. They play them coming up tonight, and they'll have one more game in Florida. Great opportunity to make a statement for the Leafs.
This is a very interesting border. You can see the second half of back-to-backs, and they're pretty much identical.
Both teams are good.
Pretty much identical where they're at. And it's not a long back-to-back. Ottawa and Toronto, it's probably about a 5-hour car ride. So by the time the plane actually...
And they're not taking a car.
They're not taking a car, but by the time the plane gets up there, you don't even have time to almost eat on that flight. It's a quick ride. But it's still a back-to-back. Sergei Bobrovsky did not play
Vanacek last night for Florida.
Yeah, and so it's going to be... Or sorry, it was not. It was Montreal. I thought it was Ottawa, but it's Montreal. Still, it's a very short trip. So Bobrovsky is going to be well rested in this game, and the Florida Panthers understand the importance of being first in your division. You want to avoid either of those two teams, and chances are it's going to be Ottawa in the 7th spot in the first wild card, and they will play the Atlantic leader. Not an easy task, but I would rather do that than be playing Toronto or Tampa if I'm Florida.
Yeah. So when we take a look at the Leafs schedule, because they get a point tonight, they can clinch a playoff spot. So that's going to happen at some point. But you can see this next stretch of games. These are all tough ones for the Leafs. Obviously the Panthers tonight. Saturday night, they've got the Blue Jackets, who just scored 8 goals, and they're running up with the offense going again. That won't be easy. Then a tough back-to-back in Florida. I think Tampa gets the benefit, right?
Yes,
Second
they will.
of a back-to-back. And then they got the Montreal Canadiens, and they've only been like kind of, the comeback kids over the last several weeks here. That will be a tough one as well. So, man, it's going to be right down to the wire.
Yes,
when I look at the schedules, I almost think Tampa Bay has a little bit of an advantage. They get one against the Leafs. I think they finished the season against Florida.
They don't have a back-to-back.
Yeah.
I think Florida ends up with 3. I think Toronto's got 2 back-to-backs, and this is the first of 3 for Florida. Toronto's got 2. One is the Florida-Tampa. So Tampa does not have a back-to-back. And the way the stats go, it shows that the back-to-backs, that could be the tough situation. So Tampa definitely is a little better that way. Tampa's on a roll. I mean, all 3 teams are playing well. Yeah. But Tampa, I think, is probably playing better than any of these teams at the right time.
Yeah, and Florida's a little bit of a struggle right now. They're probably missing
a few bodies.
They're missing Matthew Tkachuk and they're missing Aaron Ekblad,
sure.
right? But
no question.
They do have Brad Marchand in their mix tonight, and he gets back to try to haunt the Toronto Maple Leafs again. You can see 14 road games against the Leafs. Brad Marchand has been a factor in these games.
He has. Plus, he's also played against the Leafs in the same division in the playoffs, which is another bonus if it ends up Florida-Toronto in the first round, let's say. Brad Marchand is very comfortable because he's been on the winning and losing side of the Bruins against the Leafs. So familiarity is definitely there, and it's going to come right down to the end. I mean, tonight's a big game. Yeah. But we're going to say that next week when they play on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday, Thursday. Yep. It'll be the same.
They'll be all big games down the stretch. And just to correct myself, Tampa and Florida, they do play again in Tampa, and that is not the end of the season. It's the 15th. The Lightning will finish the season on the road at the Rangers on the 17th. So should be an interesting night. Certainly in Toronto. We come back. It was a great night in Montreal last night. Nick Suzuki! He tied it, and then he won it. Wild night in the East. We'll take a look at that next on First Shift. What a night at the Bell Center. Tick, tick, tick. The final 9 seconds of the game. There's Nick Suzuki tucking it home to tie it. The Bell Center went nuts, and then in overtime, Mr. Overtime, Nick Suzuki does it again on the wraparound. Oh, baby. The captain gets it done, and the Canadiens skate away with another win over the Florida Panthers. A perfect 4-0 against the Panthers. Look at this. Goals in regulation and in OT in a 40-second span. So at the end of a game and then into OT, Ovi did it in 06 at Atlanta. That's a long time ago against the Thrashers. Just second off. Suzuki did it tying with Mikko Rantanen, who did it at St. Louis. So it was a crazy, crazy night in Montreal. It was a wild night around the Eastern Conference. I mean, it was a back and forth. I mean, the loser in the whole night was the Rangers because they didn't play, and they're watching this unfold. They think that they're going to, be in good shape with Montreal losing. Montreal ends up rallying and winning the game.
Yeah, and what a game. I mean, we've seen this before with the Habs. They did 3 straight. They were down 4-1 against Colorado last week. They ended up losing the game in overtime. This one was 2-1. The puck was behind their net with about 15 seconds to go. Yeah. And it gets up ice quickly, and watching this game, it's like the ghosts of the old Montreal Forum. The Maurice Richards, the Tom Beliveau, the Guy Lafleur, Jacques Plante, Doug Harvey, you name it. They somehow found a way to get that puck to slide through Sam Reinhart's body to Suzuki to tap it in at the end, and then Nick Suzuki, the Habs won the draw. Florida never touched the puck, and it was Suzuki, Caulfield, and Lane Hutson again starting the overtime. They had control of the puck the whole time, and a beautiful wraparound by Suzuki. But to see that goal go in, Hutson just throws it to the net, knowing
he barely kept it in he barely kept it in the zone.
And I don't know how it went through Reinhart. Like, I have no idea how that puck squirted through Sam Reinhart and ended up sitting on the open side, and Suzuki's standing there. Oh, thanks very much.
The ghosts.
That's what I say. It's the ghosts.
Howie Morenz was up there giving it the old, the old whammy there.
It's but yes, it was a great comeback. It's a great story, and they win it in OT. And they squeeze out that win. But you look at what's going on in Montreal. Lane Hutson. has been.
What a story.
I mean, we're talking about college players coming into the National Hockey League right out of college, and you've got a guy of Lane Hudson who jumps into the National Hockey League in his first year. Nobody expected this to happen. He just passed Chris Chelios, who's a Hall of Famer, and he's 3 assists away from Larry Murphy.
I love that picture of Chelios and Murphy as they're rookies.
Yeah, they're kids.
I mean, boy, oh boy, that is some picture of Chelly right there.
And Murphy in Los Angeles, for those who forgot he played in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But Lane Hudson just does it, so we talk about him so often, and you have to talk about him because he just continues to get it done, continues to put points up, continues to create offense, and it's a fantastic story. The amount of defensemen who are in the Hall of Fame who played the Montreal Canadiens, like Larry Robinson, Serge Savard, Guy Lapointe, Doug Harvey, these guys were point getters. They were not only
Chelios.
defensive. Well, we talked about Chelios. I didn't mention, I mentioned guys who weren't on that board. Like, they had a lot of Hall of Fame defensemen who put up a lot of points. Chris Chelios was obviously led the way in assists. And for Lane Hudson to come in and do that, kind of under the radar. I mean, he wasn't expected to come in and be this guy, but he has been. And it's been a tremendous bonus for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, Hudson assisted on 6 of the 7 goals against the Panthers in the last couple games because they played back-to-back home games.
Yes.
And, I mean, he's just been an incredible story. I've been watching that kid since he was like 17, going through the U.S. program and playing at the World Juniors and being part of a team at BU. And, boy, there was all those questions. You know, he's a smaller guy. I remember at the draft, he brought like some kind of doctor's report that says, oh, he's got some room for growth. And listen, he's just fine exactly as he is. He is a dynamic young player. So much fun to watch him play night in, night out. We're fortunate to watch it. His younger brother Cole is at BU. They're going to the Frozen Four. Cole is he looks like a twin. So it'll be interesting to see. And oh, by the way, Washington Capitals draft pick. So another player for the Washington Capitals down the road. But Lane has had an exceptional season. Good chance he's going to win the Calder. We'll see. It's a tough race.
Yes.
But great job there. And also great job by Sam Montembeault. We're sitting here last night. He made a big save to keep this one close.
You know, his save percentage isn't up around the 9, 15, 16, but he makes the saves that they need him to make at the right time. And he did it yesterday against Florida, and he's done it on a consistent basis. He made this stop right here. He gets over not once, but he makes 2 stops on this play, and that easily could have put Florida up by 2, and that would have been your game. He has been tremendous for the Montreal Canadiens. And again, he was the 3rd goaltender on Canada at the Four Nations. You know, you play with star players. You sit in a situation like that, and you watch and see what Binnington did in the final and the overtime and how he stepped up and made the saves when his team needed him the most. Then you start to learn in those situations. I think that was a huge benefit for the Montreal Canadiens and Sam Montembeault, because now he's making some big saves at the right time.
Taking another step.
He has, and that's how you get in the playoffs, and it's also when you're in the playoffs, it's, yes, make the saves you're supposed to, but there are times in a game where we need our goaltender to bail us out. Montembeault did that against Florida.
Yeah, no question about it. Started at 54 of the 74 games so far for the Canadiens. Here's a look at the playoff picture as we stand getting ready for tonight's action, and the Canadiens, with that win, put themselves 2 points ahead of the Jackets and the Rangers. The Jackets had a big night last night where they put 8 on the board. Marchenko had a hat trick. He's got over 30 goals now for the first time in his career. So the Jackets are 2 points back, and they leapfrog the Rangers because they have played 1 fewer game than the Rangers.
This is a scary team. Sean Monahan's back. This team is scoring goals left and right.
It's funny. They scored a lot of goals all year, but then they went through that drought where they couldn't score. They got Monahan back. They've got a couple of other little pieces, and now they're scoring again.
We were on a hat trick watch. Sean Monahan.
3 guys could have had a hat trick in that
game.
Adam
Fantilli had a couple. Marchenko, he was the only guy who got the hat trick. And the way that they were going in, and then the way that they were just pushing the pace of the game, was very impressive against Nashville. Nashville just couldn't catch up. They started slow and they just couldn't catch up. And for Columbus, this is a great sign, because this team's going to, with Monahan back in, everybody's, Fantilli dropped down to a position in the lineup where he should be. Monahan's your number 1 center. They're scoring goals at will. And, we're talking a lot about Montreal, and we've maybe we haven't given Columbus as much love as they should.
Well, they went on that stretch where they couldn't buy a goal, they couldn't win. Right, they were there, and now, but they're pushing back.
They're coming back because Monahan's back in. They're starting to get healthy, and this team can score plenty of goals. They're big, they're fast, and they are going to give teams fits. And if I'm New York Rangers, I'm very concerned because the teams ahead of me are winning. Yeah. Columbus is winning. Montreal's winning. The only thing that the Rangers have got going for them is the Islanders aren't.
Yeah, that's true.
That's about it.
That's true. Columbus playing the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night in Columbus, so that'll be a challenge for sure. Coming up next, Steve Cooley is joined. Just talk a little bit about the Jets. Is Cooley down on the Jets right now? I'm going to ask him right next. That's coming up next. First shift rolls on.
From live play-by-play to your favorite game day anthems and the biggest sports podcasts in the world, the iHeartRadio app lets you take it all with you wherever you go. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
We take a peek at the Central Division standings, and the Winnipeg Jets have been sitting on the top for a long time. But the Dallas Stars, with a game in hand, and the two teams do play on April the 10th in Dallas, could catch them, which would throw that first-round matchup into the blender for the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think they want to see the Colorado Avalanche again in the first round. And with that in mind, we'll bring in our weekly correspondent, the wonderful Steve Kouleas from NHL Network Radio. I'm sorry, Adnan not here again this week, so your mom is going to be a little disappointed. But
she's
okay.
happy with you.
All
she's
right.
happy with you right now.
Okay.
She loves you now.
Well,
here we go.
We gave her a little shout out there. And maybe next week we have her on. We bypass you. We just go right to your mom.
That'd be okay. She's got a few things to get off her chest. I'll tell you that right now.
Listen, now we're
the
talking.
apple doesn't fall far from the tree,
now
does
we're
it?
talking.
Coles, eh?
Now we're talking. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. All right, let's get to that Central Division because we want to start with you this week. You've been eyeing that pretty closely here, and here come the Dallas Stars, and it's amazing. Without Miro Heiskanen, has been out for months now, they're right on the tail of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I got to think the Jets keep turning a corner like, a Hollywood movie, and they think they're okay. They look back. There's Dallas. There's Mikael Granlund. There's Mikko Rantanen. There's Wyatt Johnston. They're on a roll. In March, Winnipeg went 9-5-1. That's not too bad. Dallas went 11-2-2. Remember, March, everyone plays a ton of games. Dallas made up 5 points. You just showed the standings. 4-point separation, game in hand, and they play each other. Because the Jets have gone wire to wire, I think that's going to bother them more if they just took the lead by 4 and they were second and third all season. They were expecting to play, Calgary or Vancouver. That's not going to happen. It's probably going to be Minnesota now or St. Louis. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be easy, but it's easier in theory than Colorado. So I think the Jets are feeling it. They might not say it right now. This wasn't supposed to be a race. Dallas might win the President's Trophy. Jim Nill. Oh, baby, as Bob Cole would say.
Well, I think one guy might have something to say about that, and that's Connor Hellebuyck on the Winnipeg Jets. He's having an absolutely tremendous season, and if those two teams are going to come down to that April 10th game, I think it could come down to goaltending. Where are you on Connor Hellebuyck? I mean, Connor Hellebuyck is up for possibly the Hart. Chances are really good. It's going to be a Vezina hands down. But for me, I mean, Connor Hellebuyck is one huge reason Winnipeg's doing this. They can score. But to me, it's all about team defense and goaltending. Much like, guys, I would have to say Dallas is similar. But where are you on Connor Hellebuyck in the great scheme of things?
Well, he's won the Vezina. And remember, at this second, as we speak here, with my mom watching, Hellebuck's at 924, and Vasilevsky's at 922. Like, that's a small gap. And Hellebuyck has had the better year, but he's on a great team. He might be on the first overall, second overall, if they fall to third overall team. He's been good for Winnipeg, and Winnipeg's good for him. But when I look at Hellebuyck and I compare him to, say, to Hasek in 97, 98, and even 99, or Carey Price ended up winning in 2015 because Jamie Benn led the league in scoring with 87 points. There wasn't an offensive flair. In the seasons of 97 and 98, look at what the Sabres were. They were plus 10 one year, plus 7 the next year. And these numbers for Hellebuyck are really, really, really good. But the Jets are way better than those Sabres. And what did Hasek do? Oh, he won a gold medal by himself. He almost won the Stanley Cup, Reader, as you know, but didn't get the job done. So to me, I think you need to be so much better than any of the, not goalies, but skaters. Price won because nobody wowed us. In Hasek's year, he wowed us, and the belief was he is maybe the best goalie of all time. So to me, I have Hellebuyck fourth, and the other guys, the Kucherov, the Rice-Titles, McKinnon, they have their award. You better really, really blow me out of the water. It's really good, no shame in finishing fourth, gentlemen.
Well, all right. So are you under the belief that the goaltenders have their own award? It's called a Vezina. Defense have their own award. It's called the Norris, and the Hart should go to a forward? Because that's kind of where I'm getting a feeling from you here. Is that where we're going with this one?
If the leading scorer this year at 87 points and 39 goals, Hellebuyck wins. Hellebuyck wins. You know, one person in 8 billion will score 50 goals this year. Well, one's done it right now in Leon Draisaitl. Kucherov, phenomenal last year. Nate McKinnon as well. You know, McKinnon won last year. Some people think it should have been Kucherov. I think the Hart is the most prestigious regular season award than the Conn Smythe Trophy, obviously. So it matters. I think it's a three-way tie right now, and Hellebuyck is fourth, in my opinion. This isn't Craig Anderson, 941, or those Hasek-like numbers. If the Jets were the Blues right now, and Hellebuyck just won 10 in a row, you know, or Montreal and got them in, it might be a different story. So it's a great year, phenomenal year. He's won the Vezina, but there's nothing wrong. Someone has to finish fourth. Someone has to not get into Harvard. And I think Hellebuyck's in that category this year, as good as he's been.
You know what? I'm going to defend Connor Hellebuyck a little bit here because, like you mentioned, you know, Dominik Hasek, and I personally feel like he was the only goalie in that stretch. Like, I think Price won that year. You make a great point. Ben only had 87 points. Ovechkin scored 53 goals that year. So, I mean, that was another candidate that could have been there. Price was a little better than Devan Dubnyk, a little better than Steve Mason. You go back and look at save percentage. Like, to your point, it wasn't that much of a difference. In Hellebuyck's case this year, he leads in all the categories. He leads in save percentage. He leads in goals against average. He leads in wins. And he leads in shutouts. In those other years, I don't think any of those goalies led in all those categories. You're right, the Jets have a good team, but take Hellebuyck out of the picture for the Jets. I mean, the Jets are good, but they're not dynamically good. They're not like the Avalanche with McKinnon and Makar. You know, they're not like some of these other teams we've seen like Tampa over the last couple of years when they were winning Stanley Cups. They're a good team, but I think Hellebuyck deserves at least to be a finalist. And when you lead in all the categories, I think he's going to make a case here.
Yeah, if he finished third, I'm not going to have an argument party or a pity party or anything like that. I think I'm more arguing that he doesn't win it. And if it was 2, 3, or 4, I could live with it. I think it's 4 because of the hardest thing to do in our sport. They say hardest thing to do is hit a baseball. The hardest thing to do is score. Draisaitl, 52 goals, 11 game winners, 6 in overtime for the Edmonton Oilers. And none of those guys really, they don't kill penalties, so they're not going to win the Selke Trophy. So that's not in their advantage of saying they're a Jack Eichel 200-foot player or some other things. It's a sexy conversation because it's close. It's like we discussed on the show before, EJ and Reader. Who's better, Matthews or Draisaitl? Oh boy, those are hard questions. Who's better, Daniel or Henrik? Oh, okay, that makes it work better. And I think in this case, there's great arguments to be made. No empty netters as it relates to the decision, and it's not over yet.
Yeah. I'll just add one other thing because I think Kucherov has made a push here, and he's just a tremendous player. Cooley, I just don't think the voting group in the media, I don't think a lot of people really love Nikita Kucherov for whatever reason. I love watching him. I think he's an amazing player. But you got Draisaitl, you got McKinnon. It seems like the media likes these guys a little bit more maybe than they like Kucherov, but he's had a great year. In my view, right now, maybe he's number one.
EJ, I'm with you. And I wasn't going to go there, but since it's snowing here, you plowed the road so Reader can go through New Jersey, through my neighborhood, back to Peterborough. Listen, Jose Theodore shouldn't have won the Hart in 2002.
Correct.
Politics came into play. Mario in 89 gets 199 points. Oh, Wayne's first year in L.A. Good for the game. Mario wasn't happy. He didn't win the Hart Trophy. So we could go on, and I think there's something to be said. There's something to be said about if you are from Montreal or Moscow, North American or not. Corey Perry over Sedin. It's voting. As we've seen before, sometimes voting makes us go, huh. That's why my favorite award is the Art Ross. No voting.
Yeah.
There
well,
you go.
Hey, my favorite award is the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
You know, that's the only one that these guys really care about at the end of the day.
All right, let's.
Hey, one more.
I told you not to ask him about
one more,
about
by the way.
that.
Yager over Thornton in 06. 54
okay,
goals.
Here we go.
Come on. Yager should have won that year. That's enough. He wants to go to John Tavares.
Yeah, let's
get to John Tavares.
The most valuable player to your team is the heart. John Tavares could be in that conversation because you've got a lot of great players in Toronto. You've got tremendous skill. You've got a Hart Trophy winner in Austin Matthews. He's not having a Hart Trophy year, although he's finishing extremely strong. You've got William Nylander, who is absolutely dynamic. You got Mitch Marner. But I think you could have an argument, say the most important player in Toronto, who doesn't have a contract next year, is their old captain in John Tavares. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, there are people that were running him out of town. One guy said, a famous guy, about buying him out, and there would have been no cap savings.
You don't want to mention any names, do you?
No, but
just
people
checking.
know.
Just checking.
People know. Look at this. Since Four Nations, who has the most goals in the NHL? John Tavares. The month of March, in his 16th year, he scored 13 goals. That's the best month of his NHL career. Can you believe it? And speaking of hearts and other things for Tavares, he's got 491 goals, over 1,100 points. His 16-year sample of players linked to him after 16 years, JR, Alfredson, Robitaille, Sundin, Modano, and Turgeon. He's been nominated for 2 Hearts. There is a boatload of players in the Hall of Fame that have never been nominated for a Hart. And as Phil Esposito taught me, end of the year, first or second team All-Star. How could you ever get to the promised land if you were 1 year you weren't the best at your position? Well, in 2015, he was first team All-Star, had a better year than Crosby and everything else. And he has the moment, Reader, as you know, in 24 years of Leaf hockey, one moment, and it's gone to John. Look, puck battles, second in the league. I didn't know that. Chris Cuthbert said it the other night. He's the Fedorov to Yzerman. Modano had Nieuwendyk. Malkin to Crosby. But you got to win. And the thing is, they have not. The regular season, very good. John will sign somewhere. The question is where and what is the price?
All right. I think he's going to stay in Toronto at a lesser number. We'll see. Hold it. Before we let you go, I know you got the goal horn nearby. So do you have anything for tonight? What do you got?
Well, I've had a tough year. It reminds me of that one guy in NBC one year had a brutal season of NFL football. I just talked about John, so I kind of pot committed here, right, Reader? And it's snowing, so you know what? 492 sails the ocean blue. The countdown to 500 is on.
All right, there it is. Steve Kouleas. Hey, this was a lively discussion. Next week, I look forward to your mom stepping in for you.
It was the discussion room. We just did the discussion room, EJ.
That's right. I love it. Well, you are the master of the discussion room. So thanks for the time, Cooley. We appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you next week. Hey, we got the Blues last night. Rally to win at the end of the game into overtime. We'll talk about that crazy wild card race in the West next on First Shift. In St. Louis, they are rolling right now. They're losing 1-0 late, under a minute to play. Kyrou scores to tie it, and then they get the game winner as Fowler scores to win it. And the St. Louis Blues, they've won 10 in a row now, Reader, as they have they've been on fire since the Four Nations break. Look at this winning streak. Scoring over 4 goals a game, giving up less than a goal and a half, penalty killing almost perfect at 90.5. Shots allowed per game, not giving up much. I mean, this is a really terrific team right now. And you look at the standings in the Western Conference, they have made their move up and leap ahead of the Minnesota Wild right now with 6 games remaining. The Wild have a game in hand. The Flames are still trying to hang in there, but the Blues are they're winning their way into the playoffs, Reader.
They really are. And a few weeks ago, we were talking about St. Louis. They're going to be out of the playoffs, and now they're 2 points behind Edmonton. I mean, no, Edmonton's not in their division, but still, it's in the same conference. They're getting it done in every which way. And, you know, I think the stats show it. Their defense has been extremely good. They're scoring. Dylan Holloway, Jordan Kyrou, these guys
Robert
just keep
Thomas,
going.
You know.
It's just, and
Nice
Cam
pieces.
Fowler.
Yeah.
Cam Fowler comes in. That was a beautiful goal. He scored a huge goal that tied the game. I believe it was against Nashville.
Yep.
10 straight wins at any time of the year. That's pretty much an eighth of your season. That's definitely going to put you in the playoffs, and they're not going to be comfortable just getting in, because we saw this when they won the Cup a few years back. It was a terrible start to the season. You make your coaching change. Now, all of a sudden, the team starts to gel. Jim Montgomery's got these guys believing in themselves, playing on their toes, playing a fast-paced game. And at top of that, they're being even more responsible defensively. They don't give up a lot. They don't give up scoring opportunities, and that is how you win games. And this is a young team playing with all sorts of energy. Very, very impressive what they've done.
Yeah, they are. You know, they are a young team, but they got an old group of defensemen. I'm just looking at it again. Now, Parayko's not playing yet, but he'll be back soon. He's been over 800 games. Fowler, who's been red hot since coming over, playing really well since the Four Nation. He's played 1,000 games. Fox ought to be close to 1,000 games. Ryan Suter's played about 3 million games. I mean, I think he's at 1,500.
All in the Central Division.
More than 50, all in the Central Division.
Yeah.
1,500. Letty, I think, has got to be close to 1,000 now, if not over. So that's a lot of experience. Then they've got the young kid there in Broberg who's played well. Tucker comes in and plays well for them. So, I mean, it's been a really good team right now. It'll be interesting to watch as they battle with Minnesota for those final wild card spots going back and forth. Minnesota is in action tonight, and they're playing the New York Rangers. We got a tweet from Mike Russo with an update on the star players. Here's from Mike. Kirill Kaprizov had a positive checkup with his surgeon yesterday and will go back into the next phase of his attempted comeback contact. Date of return still up in the air, but John Hines doesn't anticipate Sunday's game versus Dallas. All right, then another note here. For the first time, Hines confirmed what we've previously reported, and that is that Joel Eriksson Ek was a 6 to 8 week injury. This is week 6. So his return time is also up in the air. So the Wild have done well to hang in there in all of this, because those are some important pieces that they are missing. They're trying to stay afloat. I think they're going to make it to the playoffs, and it would be great if they, once they get in, if they could get Kaprizov back and Eriksson Ek. Now they're more of a handful for whoever they play.
Oh, big time. There's no question about it. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov makes everybody else in that team better, and Joel Eriksson Ek he's pretty much your Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You put him in any position, he's going to excel.
And he's a big, strong guy. Hard to deal with.
He is very tough to deal with.
Yeah.
And, you know, give Matt Boldy a lot of credit in this team. He has done, and Zuccarello, Matt Boldy has really stepped up. He's played great for this team. But eventually, you need that extra goal, which Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov are going to be probably bringing an extra goal and a half a game on average. They're that good. And it's a strong defensive team. Gustafsson has been great in it, and they can only rely on that type of hockey for so long. And, you know, it'd be nice to see Kaprizov back before the playoffs. It looks like he's taking contact, means you're going to be close.
Yeah.
Eriksson Ek, I would totally expect him to be back in the first round. But they've got to get there, and they've got a huge game against the Rangers, and the Rangers are a desperate team, probably more desperate.
That's what I was going to say. I think the Rangers, they have to need this one more, because the Wild have a little cushion to play with here.
Do.
They have some points on Calgary. Calgary has games in hand, but I mean, they're in a better.
Even if Calgary wins,
that's right.
They're
still there.
Absolutely.
But the Rangers are looking up now. Montreal is, you know, a great story. We mentioned it earlier. Columbus playing well. For the Rangers tonight, they've got to find a way, you know, after coming back from a West Coast trip, to get a win.
And that's always a tough one. Coming back from the opposite coast, whether it's East or West, but when you come back home, that first game, for whatever reason, and if anybody knew it, they'd change it, but it's not easy to play that first game back. Yeah. And that's what the Rangers are going to have to overcome in this one. And they're going to have to do it quickly, because Minnesota is going to be playing on their toes. You don't want to be playing Shesterkin and let the game keep going close, because he can win the game for you. Much like us. This could be a 1-0, 2-1 game in Minnesota and New York today.
Yeah. Quick note, Gabe Perreault could make his debut for the Rangers tonight, so we're happy to see that. Also for the Vancouver Canucks, they're trying to hang around in the West. It doesn't look good, and look at these injuries. I mean, Filipino, I feel so bad for this kid. He's had a lot of issues over the last couple of years with different injuries, concussion problems, doubtful to return this year. Elias Pettersson, he just was starting to get going, and then he got hurt in that Saturday afternoon game against the Rangers, has not played since then. Day-to-day, and then Niels Höglander also injured in that game on that Saturday. He's been day-to-day. I mean, that's a lot of offensive firepower for a team that has moved out JT Miller. All of a sudden now you're digging into the minors to try to find guys. I don't think the Canucks are getting there this year.
No, I don't think so. That's your top line. Those three players are a top line. And you can't expect to continue to put points on the board and score goals when your top line is not in the lineup, and it doesn't look like they're going to be back anytime soon. Yeah, you've got tremendous goaltending. Thatcher Demko's back. He's healthy. When he's in, he makes a huge difference on this team. Quinn Hughes is an elite category defenseman in the National Hockey League. He and Cale Makar are well above everybody out in the league. But that's what Vancouver is going to have to rely on to get them into the playoffs. They're going to have to win every game. They've got a huge task in front of them, and it's going to be very difficult to get there with that's pretty much it. Great goaltending and a defenseman who creates all the offense, one of the best in the league, if not the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. I mean, they've got to find scoring up front. It's going to be a difficult task.
Yeah, they're 7 points behind right now. They play the Kraken tonight, so it will be very difficult for a team dealing with a lot of injuries. When we come back, the commissioner had some very interesting news today. I'm going to fill you in on that. You might be particularly interested north of the border. That's next for Shift.
This is a great day for the NHL, for Rogers, and most of all for our fans across Canada. Today we are thrilled to announce that the partnership we forged over a decade ago will continue for more than another decade. When it comes to our broadcast relationships, our mission is simple: give fans more access to our incredible game and bring them closer to our phenomenal players. It is not surprising that more than 50% of the top 100 viewed television programs and 37 of the top 50 are NHL hockey games. This agreement will take our partnership to the next level. Given the current state of the NHL game, it is not a surprise that the number one thing we hear from fans is that they want even more access to more games, and this agreement will bring more live games to more fans across the country than ever before. So once again, I want to say thank you to Edward Rogers, Tony Collette, and their talented team for their partnership and friendship. We could not be more excited to continue to work with you to bring the best of the NHL hockey to our fans.
Wow, big news north of the border. So the TV rights deal extended for another 12 years. Big news for those of you watching on Sportsnet. That's it for us, Reader.
Good day. Another big night of hockey.
I know. 5 games tonight. NHL Now coming up next. We will see you tomorrow.